Did you make a sacrifice before you went live?
Nope, that's not what I wanted.
My character's a goat.
There you go.
I'm not volunteering.
No, you're a pilgrim. You've got some sway with the Highlands, right?
All right, let's try this one more time.
Oh, now everybody can't hear us while we've been talking. Everybody pretend you couldn't hear us. And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My audio is turned down way too low. Let me turn it up real quick. There we go. My name is Tony Vicinda. I am Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy. And I got to remember to look down here at this camera instead because my normal camera isn't working, which is why we haven't been on stream in a little bit. So if we seem rusty, it's just because we are. That's exactly what's happening. But our hope and desire here at Plus One EXP is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can fall in love with. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun way is just sitting down with those designers to play those games. Today is no different. We are playing BridgeTown, which is a pastoral liminal setting or liminal pastoral setting for Troika RPG. Probably also, if you want to play it with another RPG, you can, and no one can stop you. But I keep on looking at my normal camera instead of this camera. Hi, this camera. Rather than me try to tell you about it, we're going to have David Schirduan, one of the creators and the project lead, tell us all about it. David, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about BridgeTown.
So my name is David Schirduan. I'm the lead publisher for Technical Grimoire, and BridgeTown is our newest book for Troika, written by Furtive Goblin and John Gregory. They took a unique blend of London Bridge from like the 1800s, mixed with some fairy tale pastoral stuff, and then with a lot of goats just sprinkled in there. And it is a pastoral liminal setting of an infinite bridge that people live on. I think you're muted, Tony.
I am muted because I realized it was pulling from the wrong microphone, but I can't figure out how to get it to pull from the right. The last 2 weeks also, I've just been pulling from the wrong.
Well, Tony's still muted.
Oh, y'all can't hear me, but the audience can. Hold on.
Yep.
So there's a couple different issues at play here. The audience can hear me. So if I cut out, sometimes that's just because that means you can't hear me, but the audience can. I'm trying to figure out why my proper microphone is not working and why my improper microphone is working. With that said, why don't we meet while I work on that, why don't we meet our other players? First time on stream, love having new folks on. Elodie, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and if you want to be found online or in person, tell people where to find you.
So I'm just a general, I call myself a Renaissance gremlin because I'm really unfocused on what I do, but basically anything related to RPGs or fantasy I love. I write, I draw, I stream sometimes, and I can be found on Twitter and most other social media platforms at WYRDDungeonGame.
Sweet. Derek, you next.
Hi, I'm Derek Vizier, also known as Halfling's Horde. I run a blog. It's been going for a couple of years now. I try to write weekly, but life gets in the way. My day job is as a middle school teacher, so I put in what time I can to the RPG scene. Working on a couple different projects right now. One of them's currently unnamed. Another one that I've been trying to just work through some issues with, and time goes by and projects happen or they don't.
Awesome. We are going to dive into play in just 1 second while I continue to figure out why my audio is being weird. But in the meantime, we use a couple different tools here on stream to keep everything on track and safe, especially since we play with a lot of new people and a lot of different systems all the time. The tools we use are lines, veils, the X card, and something called the open door policy. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game, but they don't happen in the course of our play of it. They are firmly off limits, so we kind of put a line between them and us. We do have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion on the channel. We also use veils, which are things that may happen in the course of the game, but we only address them in a certain way. They are things that we might fade to black, mention, but then move on, not dwell on extensively if they come up. And then the X card is the ability for anyone at any point in time to pause the game and add any lines or veils they want. And we use an open door policy also too as part of our games, which means we're real people who might need to eat, drink, pause, take a break, step off, do all those kinds of things. And if we do, we will. And if you need to, you should also. But whenever we play with David, David also has some table rules of his own. So after we do that, I'm gonna hand things over to David while I keep on fiddling with my sound settings and let him kind of break into some of that. But before we do that, does anybody have any lines or veils that they want to add to our list? It's again things that are off limits for play or that you just want to handle within a certain context. Cool. We can always X things in the middle, add things to that list as our living rules. David, I do love your table rules. You want to go ahead and pop those up and share them with the audience and us?
Can do. I always joke that goat puns are off the table, but that's not true, not even for me. All right.
Oh, it's backwards. Right. Hold on. Let me give you a little flipperoo there. Flip horizontal. Why didn't you do it? Flip horizontal. Say it one more time. Flip horizontal. There we go. All right. Now they are correct and visible.
Third time's the charm. All right.
Go ahead whenever you are ready.
Okay, sweet. So these are my convention rules. Some of these don't apply because, I'm playing with a bunch of dedicated folks who gave up their time to be here and be on stream. But I still like to go through them because it's just, I'm used to it. I can't GM until I've gone through these rules, so bear with me. So table rules is to respect other players and respect GM decisions. I love negotiation, going back and forth, but eventually I have to make a call so that we can keep the game moving. Don't interrupt, limit distractions. Again, I'm not worried about that. Y'all are on stream, and I'm so excited to dive into an adventure with you. Voice any concerns and desires that you have, anything you want to see, anything you don't want to see. A couple things on my don't want to see list is sex and torture. Feel free to add in and fill in the blank at any time. This last rule is a special one for me. If you say something, it happens. So speak carefully. Oftentimes, it's easy to make a lot of jokes or sort of take a step out of the game and make a pun or something. I will latch onto that like a hungry animal and roll with it. So if you make a joke of like, I stabbed the king, we're going to see what happens when you stab the king. And that just makes the game more unexpected and more exciting for me. Some advice on the way that I run games is to bring your character to life. Think about what they want. Think about their quirks. Think about their flaws. Another piece of advice is to do stuff. Be proactive. If I have to lead y'all around by the nose, that's not going to be as much fun. So if I put a big shiny red button in front of you, someone should push it. Even if it's a bad idea, especially if it's a bad idea. Scheme often. Dice may fail, but good plans don't roll. If you come up with like an Ocean's 11 style heist, we're not going to roll for that. We're just going to see what happens. Ask me lots of questions about the environment. Take lots of notes. Those are your most valuable tools in a game like this, especially. Embrace failure. Roll with it. Fight dirty. Retreat, survive. I do not balance encounters, and especially on the infinite narrow bridge of BridgeTown, you could just fall off and die pretty easily. So always go into a fight with every advantage that you can gather. And lastly, the answer is not on your character sheet. It's probably from a question that you asked or an idea that someone else has. And that covers all of my rules and advice.
Awesome. If you want to unshare, I'll flip us back to normal mode. There we go. Awesome. I think I figured out all my audio issues. Audience who is watching, let me know if I'm a little too quiet. Can y'all hear me okay? Can y'all hear me okay? Sorry. David, Elodie, and Derek, can y'all hear me okay also?
Yes.
Cool.
Sounds
I
good.
can hear you.
Yes.
I was my shotgun mic and my up close talking mic were both open and had all been flipped around, and so I was unplugging things, replugging things, and trying to make sure that we don't get any echo from y'all. But I did have to move some things around for that, and sometimes that makes me a little bit quieter. But audience, if you are watching and can still hear me, that's great. And if not, I'll keep on fiddling with things until we get it just right. So with that said. I'm super excited to play. David, I'm actually gonna just keep things over to you. You're gonna take us in to the world of Bridgetown. Let us know how you want us to proceed.
Perfect. My long-windedness has always been my best feature, so I'm happy to cover for you, Tony. The world of Bridgetown is set on this infinite liminal bridge that goes forever in both directions. People have rumors about a mystical end on either side, but no one's ever seen it. And the bridge is only about as wide as a 4-lane highway. So there's not a ton of room for like fields and trees and houses. Any sort of dwellings are usually thin and tall. Folks rely on rooftop gardens to gather the rain and grow food. A lot of resources are scarce, and communities rely on each other a lot. And most folks don't travel the bridge, but today we're going to be playing as a bunch of folks who do travel from one location to the next. The main reason that most folks don't travel the bridge is because there are regular gatehouses set up to extract tolls and sort of hinder free movement. Usually, some kind of corrupt authority runs the gatehouse. And so, breaking through these gatehouses to get into the next section of the bridge is one of the core loops of Bridgetown. And we'll probably break through a couple gatehouses of our own today.
Awesome. I love it. Pink Phantom over on YouTube said I was a little quieter, so Pink Phantom, I turned up my gain a little bit. Hopefully that helps. Just keep on letting me know, and I'll keep on futzing, as they say in the world where they say futzing. Cool. I'm excited to play. How are we getting started?
So the main structure of today's game is I did my brief introduction. I'm going to give everybody the chance to introduce their character's pronouns, their character's motivations. I will sort of introduce our very first encounter / setting. And then after that, the game is beyond any of our control, and it becomes a product of shared consciousness.
Love it. Awesome.
All right, well, then let's get started. Let's do some character introductions. Elodie, you want to go first?
Sure. So my character's name is Nanny McGruffins, and she is a pilgrim of the Gruff folk. And she is looking for the fat pastures, the mythical land of her pilgrimage. And along the way, she's hoping to find a daring climb or a good fight.
All right. And as a Grufffolk pilgrim, are you primarily on your journey, or would you stop to like preach or witness or proselytize to folks?
I love proselytizing. She loves proselytizing, mostly because it always results in a fight, and she loves a good fight.
And what sort of belief or mindset or philosophy do you proselytize that is so contentious?
Well, the world beneath the bridge is incredible. and everyone should go there. So yeah, if you just want to jump off the bridge, it'll be great fun. I assure you.
So the bridge rises out of this sort of thick, soupy, foggy area known as the underfog, and occasionally horrible creatures crawl out of the underfog. So that's a hard sell. I'm excited to hear Nanny try and convince somebody to jump off the bridge. I've got your character right here. Your Sporin. What, like, is that decorated? Does it hold anything? Are there pockets in it? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I don't actually know what a sporin is.
Oh, I believe it's like the pouch that you wear in front of a kilt.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a little bit morbid. It's got a bunch of horns hanging off of it from my ancestors who jumped off the bridge, and they left their horns behind as mementos for their family.
Wow, that's very metal. I love it. All right. And lastly, what do you use to maintain your goatee? Do you have like a ribbon tied on it? Do you have like a really like smelly balm?
Give it
How
limited
does
edition beer,
Nanny
beard
maintain the
oil.
goatee?
She when it gets a bit too unruly, she backburns it. So she just lights up a bit of tinder moss and shortens it a bit with fire.
Wow, awesome. All right, Nanny knows what's up, because you don't want to be in a fight and get grabbed by the scruff, so that makes a lot of sense.
No,
All right, well, let's transition to our largest member, the troll sewer worker. Tell us about your character, Derek.
All right, my name's Plexi Funk. I work underneath the sewers, cleaning up all your shit. That's about it.
All right.
Plaxi has these overalls that have like little goat heads on them all over, but it's super dirty, super dirty, just like muck and sludge everywhere.
All right. Are you late on your union dues, or are you up to date with everything?
Oh, I believe the union's the most important piece of traction we have as workers down here. I just wish we could get everybody else on board, I sometimes have to chase around the others for the dues. I'm actually the rep for our union.
Okay, so you're the do-gooder.
I go to meetings twice a month.
All right. And you have a bag of 3 snap stripe mushrooms. Are those for eating or for alchemy, or are they just pretty?
Well, I don't quite know. I found them last week down the drains over by the McGruffins. Not quite sure what happened to grow them there. I've never really seen these before. Kind of afraid to see what happens.
Oh, now I'm afraid too. Awesome. And what is Plaxi looking for? What's his goal?
Plaxi's looking to help the workers all see what's important about being part of the union. We could rise up to the level of the streets. We could be on top of the streets. Maybe we could even get some infrastructure to make it so that we don't have to go down and shovel. Maybe there's something we can do up top, like, I don't know, get big buckets with strings to pull up the sludge.
Oh, and
Be a real
what are
breath of
Plaxi's
fresh air.
pronouns?
He uses he, him.
Cool. All right, sweet. All righty. And now we'll meet our loudest party member.
Whoa. Oh, you remember the character. Yeah, I am playing Dendrick Fist. a name I had written down already, and I'm gonna write down again just to make sure that I remember it. I mean, that you remember it. Dindrik Fist is a cobble canter, and when you see him, he's got a half-empty alms bowl in front of him, and has a handwritten sandwich board next to him that says as above so below, because I'm going to weave in on the imagery that we've got going so far. And I've got some pamphlets. The pamphlets, some of them say as above so below, some of them say other things on them. Those are hastily like shoved underneath the sandwich board, so you can't quite make out what they say. And wearing a sackcloth robe as I extol the reality that like, you know, it's like, if it's what's down there, like it's also up here, and what's up here, it's also down there, and it's, you know, it's all going to be fine in the end as well. I'm looking for followers. I'm looking for signs. I'm looking for, you know, potential relics, because, you know, what is something but a relic possibly one day in the future. And then, you know, maybe a spot to put down roots and start a temple. So, you know, all kinds of good, normal, forthright stuff is what I'm up to.
And do you and Nanny proclaim the same message, or do you often come to blows about that?
No, like I 100%, yeah, like jumping off, but you know what's just as good as jumping off, and what is basically like coming up, right? So like if you don't want to jump off, you could come, because if you go down, guess what you're going to have to do? Come back up, right? And if you're up here, guess what you could do? You could go down if you wanted to, right? And so it's fine. Sewer workers don't want to be down below anymore. Great, come up. If you're here right now, that's fine. Like, go down later, do your job. Like, it's great. It's gonna all gonna be good. And so.
And Nanny, do you stand beside Dindrik and proclaim the same message, or do you both kind of go your separate ways and proclaim it in your own way?
I like to back him up when he mentions going down. I kind of tune out when he comes back up, and sometimes it's a bit ugh.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm really trying to get across to you is that coming up is a form of going down, if you really think about it. Like, what if the bridge is actually hanging off the fog, and this is down and that is up?
Ooh, okay.
Fist makes Nanny's head hurt.
That's just a sign of holiness.
That's fair. And have you fallen for a false sign before, Dindrik?
Say one more time.
Have you fallen for a false sign or made a mistake?
Look, some people call them mistakes, some people call them learning opportunities. And so, you know, and what is a false sign but a sign that isn't true yet?
Ooh, it all comes back around for Dindrik.
It all comes back around for Dindrik.
All right, perfect. And I guess the last question is, Plexi, are you a part of this proselytizing group, or do you just kind of stand back and let them be? Derek?
I don't know much about up and down, except that I know it falls down the pipes and gets on my boots, and I'd like to get back up. So I just kind of follow along, but they're pretty good about all that stuff.
Okay, fair. All right. So Dindrik and Nanny are spreading their message. Are you also spreading the message of trying to recruit with unions? Is that like why you leaped with them, is to just sort of tack your message onto the end?
Oh yeah, I see. You know, they draw the big crowds, and I just spread my message at the end. They don't let me come out before because, you know, all the people would run away with the stink.
Okay.
I'm like the cleanup or something.
Ah. Even among your friends, you're cleaning up. Okay, gotcha. All right. The last thing we have to determine, BridgeTown is very open-ended. It has a lot of different locations and things to do and stuff to get wrapped up in, but it does include sort of a campaign structure or a starter, and that revolves around this large, slightly creepy-looking cauldron that has magical properties. Our goal today is to brew or cook the perfect stew. And we're going to need to gather ingredients and then figure out a way to actually make it. The first question is, who owns this cauldron and who carries it? Because it's big enough for 2 humans to like carry. One person could carry it on their own, but it'd be a struggle.
I mean, can you really own a sacred cauldron like this is really the question. Like, really, isn't this cauldron for all of us? Hasn't it been gifted to us? Which is why we have to share the burden. I will carry it spiritually while someone else carries it physically.
Really is a cauldron of the people. So,
Yeah.
when we finally make that stew, we're going to pass it out to the masses. I don't mind carrying it on my back most of the time.
All right. So Plaxy's got the cauldron, and if you use the cauldron incorrectly, if you don't get your recipe right, you can summon under things and under fog, and turn creatures loose. Is this perhaps an intent that you have? Do we want to try and do that on purpose?
Yeah, because I mean, here's the deal. Will it happen? Maybe. If so, can we ask them if under is really above and if above is really under? We can.
All right.
I don't know that's the intent, but it's not like I'm not against it.
No, I like that. I like that. I designed this adventure so that there's a big looming threat, and y'all are more excited about the threat than the rest of the. I'm here for it.
It brings people together more than big looming threat.
Anybody going through Armageddon is going to want to be part of the Union for
Right.
sure.
And you'll have soup along the way, so that's the other,
That's true. All right, perfect. So because this is a magical cauldron, it requires special ingredients. You can't just like throw in some ginger and some parsley and a couple like slices of carrot and call it a day. You need special ingredients to make this magical stew. And only certain things count as ingredients, but there are different categories of ingredients. So to make this magical stew, you're going to need 2 fresh ingredients, 2 magical ingredients, and 1 secret ingredient. And as we play, I've got rules for trying to figure out if something counts as an ingredient, what kind of category ingredient does it count for? And I think some of y'all might start with ingredients in your inventories.
I mean,
Elodie, does your Growfolk Pilgrim start with an ingredient?
Yes. Something to do with my sporin. Is there an ingredient inside the sporin, or is the sporin itself an ingredient?
That is up to you. Maybe the horns that you said are from those who fell off the bridge.
Make some goat bone broth. That's not morbid at all.
What kind of ingredient does that count as?
I just love the idea of it being a fresh ingredient and being like, yeah, my cousin just jumped off the bridge. But Elodie, it's your call.
I was gonna say magical because it's it's wholly clerical magic.
It doesn't say on the character sheet or on the generator?
It says old, so I guess it can't be fresh.
Yep, that's an old ingredient. All right, gotcha. We could always make a different kind of stew depending on the situation, so that still might be useful. All right. Plaxi, do you start with an ingredient?
Yep, got my 3 snap stripe mushrooms that I found underneath the McGuffins sewer line.
Mm-hmm.
They were growing right up in the corner. I guess they're old now. It was a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so they count as an old ingredient. All right, and Dendrick, what do you got?
You know, some people bring ingredients, and some people bring the wisdom that these ingredients won't work for what we want right now. And I have brought the latter of those two things. No, I don't believe based on anything that I guess I have a provision from in my alms bowl. It looks like it is an old ingredient also too. So we got some really old stuff here.
Yeah, we do. Wow, a lot of old ingredients. Okay. Maybe we'll make a stew with a bunch of old ingredients instead and see what we get. That could be interesting. All right. So our goal is to find the ingredients for this stew, and I'm going to pull up the map and show you where we start, and then we'll jump right in. Can I share that map?
You can, but I've also popped the map up so the audience can see it, which
As
will
long
be a
as they
little
can see
bit
it, that's
clearer. So if you tell me where you want now, I've actually popped up. I've layered the two of them so they can see all of the things. But
Wow.
I can also zoom in on any section specifically that we want to.
We're just going to start in the top left, I think, right before the Gate of Libations.
Whoop. Whoop. Wait, did I do the right one? Nope, I did the wrong one. Doop, 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 doop. Zoom in on the other map, Tony. Show people what the map is all about. Zoom in
And
and sing
actually,
a song.
while we're filling airtime, I have a tiny little announcement.
Ooh.
I am getting the posters of this map printed at a local printer at my local shop, and they finished early. So I've got 1,000 of these bad boys right next to me. Turned out really nice. It's dark in here because of the camera, but the colors are vibrant and beautiful. And the artwork is by Better Legends. Sam Mamelli did a fantastic job on the map. So that's going to be included with every copy of BridgeTown.
Awesome.
So excited.
Which you could get if you go to ttrpg.link /BridgeTownKS right now. Back that project. Get your own copy. You also get a copy of Bones Deep while you're at it if you want to. All right.
That's right.
All right. The Gate of Libations is where we're starting.
Excellent. Okay. So as explained before, there are gatehouses every couple locations in BridgeTown, and they always bar your way. They always require some kind of toll. Some of them are really brutal. They extract their tolls in blood or violence. Some of them extract like simple money or coins. Some of them make you listen to a long, boring sermon. The Gate of Libations is one of the more popular ones, with one of the more bizarre tolls. It's named for the powerful beers and moonshines that are brewed and distilled by the soldiers within. Informally, it's known as the Hooch Home. And the toll is that you must rigorously test the strength and flavor of the gatehouse's newest brew. So they give you each like a giant growler, and they point to like a comfortable area with couches and like a little campfire, and they say, finish your growler, take a nap, and in the morning you'll be free to pass through the bridge. That is all we ask. So there's a couple different growlers available. I guess why don't we do a D6 roll to see who gets which growler?
Is there someone there who's like serving these?
They're thrust into your hands, but if you wanted to trade with somebody, you might be able to manage that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the soldiers, there's a head soldier named, oh, what is it? I have a name here. Captain Irving. That's right. And Captain Irving has a really long, sort of drooping mustache that is constantly soaked in beer, whiskey, gin, everything.
I love it. I think I pick up one of whichever one I'm gonna roll a d6. I rolled a 2.
Mhm.
I pick up good old growler number 2.
You've got some a mortar mash is what it's called.
And I swirl it around a little bit and hold it up to the light. I don't know if these are opaque growlers or not. I still hold it up to the light as if I can divine the depths, and then I look at what was the soldier's name? The captain.
Captain Irving.
I look at Captain Irving and say, "How do you feel about this one?"
He says, I think that's the question I'm supposed to ask you after you've had a bunch.
I take a deep whiff of it, and just take a little taste just to kind of get a little bit of the bouquet, get a little bit of the initial kind of flavors off the top. What am I picking up notes of?
So this is like an apple moonshine is kind of the vibe, and there's still like chunks of apple floating in it. It's more of a soup than a liquor.
Excellent. Getting a hint of apple on that. I look over at him like knowingly and give my eyebrows a little raise.
Captain Irving sort of nods slowly. He says, "Yeah, I think we've managed to eliminate most of the toxins from our crop, and you should just get the good stuff."
Yeah. Oh well, the toxins are what make it exciting. I'm gonna say a quick little blessing to the bleeding stone. I don't know how this works. I also do know that I have 2 in wonder working, which also is charlatanism, which is not a skill I'm familiar with in Troika, and I don't know if it's new for y'all or if it exists outside. Either way, I love it, and I'm very excited about it. I want to turn this moonshine to water. Can I? And I'm happy to do that through goat means or through mystical means, depending on how this skill is supposed to be interpreted, or how we're interpreting the skill in the moment.
So are you trying to avoid drinking it, or are you trying to perform a miracle that impresses people?
I think I am trying to avoid getting absolutely sloshed by this. So I am trying to perform a miracle that will keep me from getting horribly intoxicated.
Okay. So because this is charlatanism and you're not actually performing a miracle, Troika includes, you start with a bunch of provisions, and on BridgeTown, food is money, water is gold, and you are poor. And every provision includes like a little bottle of water, enough water for a day. So I imagine you emptying water into another growler and then pouring the growler into various tiny bottles that go with your provisions over the course of like a couple hours. Is that kind of how you see it?
I was thinking something a little bit more flashy, but I'm also I was thinking I was thinking I would pour it into my alms bowl, and offer it up, and then whenever I stood back up, like pour it back into I would pour it back into the bottle, but it would now actually be the water in the bottle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it is a very loud, it's very much a prayer. It is very public. It's really just not intended to impress anybody so much as let me not have to drink this.
Okay. I support that. I think we should go for it. So for the audience, BridgeTown is a setting for Troika, which is the only rule system weird enough to handle what the BridgeTown contains. And the way that Troika works is whenever you want to make a skill check, you have to roll 2 6-sided dice underneath your skill total. And your skill total is your base skill plus whatever advanced skills that you have. So see if you can roll 2d6 underneath your skill total.
Yeah, and that is a 4 under 7.
Perfect. Then you're good. I guess my big question is, are you transforming it, or are you getting rid of the mash and replacing it with water, or is this an actual magical transformation?
Have you ever seen the science experiment where you make a tornado between two bottles?
Yeah.
I'm using my alms bowl to do that, and so now I think I have a hidden growler of this moonshine that I have tornadoed between two bottles. I don't question whether it's what's happening. I just know that at the end I'm drinking water. I think sometimes here, let's even you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. If it's our, we're just gonna test luck, because let's just go ahead and use all of the types of rolls right off the bat. So I'm gonna spend a point of luck, and I'm gonna roll 2d6 and try to roll underneath my luck, which I got a 4 again. So this is a miracle.
Perfect.
This is like, I don't even know that I'm super aware it's a miracle, but yes, 100%. This is, I just turned this moonshine into water.
Okay, great. So the moonshine isn't stored anywhere. It's
No.
just transformation.
Nope.
All right, cool.
But I do have a
dig
gallon
it.
of water now, a growler of water now.
Okay, awesome. And so part of the reason that the soldiers want you to test their drinks is so that they can perfect their recipes and then sell them to make money. If you made this a big public display, how do you keep from pissing off the people who are trying to get feedback on their drinks?
I just let them know it's an advanced distilling process, and if they are willing to pay for the secrets, I'm willing to provide some wisdom.
I think they might be inclined to kind of hide what's happening and shuffle you out, because you just implied that their stuff is easy to water down and is easy to change into what is essentially water, which is not.
I mean,
That's not a good
it took
marketing
divine
point.
effort. It took divine effort, but if they think that's easy, that's fine. I mean, like, it wasn't hard for me, so that's okay.
So I think after we'll see what happens with Plaxi and Nanny, but Dindrik is definitely going to be like sort of cuffed over the head and like quickly escorted through the gatehouse and shoved out the other side. Don't tell anybody what happened here. All right, so Plaxi, let's roll to see what growler you get.
I also rolled a 2. Should I re-roll?
No. If you want the mortar mash, if you want to re-roll, you can.
I'll take the mortar mash. I'll show
right.
you what you're supposed to do with it. So Flaxy takes the growler. Are these half-gallon growlers, or are they the wimpy quarter-gallon growlers?
They're definitely the wimpy ones for human folks, and
Okay. All right. Let me see here. Take a big quaff. Well, it don't smell like shit, so I think it's going to be okay. And just take a big old glug off of it.
your standards are real low.
Yeah. I think this tastes wonderful. Apples? Are those fresh apples in there? And Plaxi will kind of take his growler, and I assume Captain Irving is drinking as well. He's imbibing, and I'll go to cheer him.
Okay.
I'll yell,
Great.
"Skull!"
Captain Irving is drinking something that's a lot more frothy, and it's like he whenever he speaks, like bubbles kind of float out of his mouth, and he's very excited. He cheers alongside you and thanks you for your service. Not that you had a choice, but he still thanks you.
Spitting out chunks of apple as I continue to imbibe.
All right. So normally, the sort of mechanical ways that you would test your luck to see if there are any ill effects, but as a troll who works in the sewers, do you think Plexi would be at all affected by the content of this drink?
I think at a very minimal level, he might get inebriated, but I don't know that a whole lot is going to really hurt him. I mean, the distillation process in and of itself kind of kills most bacterias. So unless
Okay.
they're being like super duper unclean and mixing in sewer water, and even that point, probably not a big deal. I think
Okay.
he's mostly unaffected.
And I think Captain Irving is delighted to engage in conversation with someone who has such low expectations of their drinking liquid, and also someone who doesn't pass out after they finish a growler. So you have like a lighthearted conversation with Irving about the flavor of it and the process, and yeah, that's awesome.
I think I'd like to talk up Dindrik as well. Maybe trying to calm some of those waters a little bit.
Do you try and say something like, "Oh, he's harmless," or do you try and make it like he's a powerful person, you don't want to mess with him?
Oh, he's harmless. Sorry, Dindrik. I haven't seen him accomplish anything really ever before. So the fact that he did anything, this is wonderful. First time for everything. And let me tell you, he's just so distraught with this up, down, left, right. He doesn't know which way he's going anymore. He's just always kind of confused. I don't know. Anyway, this is
All right.
delicious. It doesn't taste like poo,
Perfect.
like in the literal
And
sense, not poo.
right. Nanny, are you ready for your growler?
Nanny is keen for her growler. She got a 1.
All right. So you are given the same frothy drink that Captain Irving is enjoying, and it's labeled Bricklayer Brew.
Well, I think Nanny probably fancies herself a bit of a gourmet, so she's gonna go grab the cauldron. She's gonna chop up some provisions, maybe throw a few horns in, make a nice bone broth marinara with Bricklayer Brew in it. She'll probably have a bit of a drinking horn, set fire to a beard, which is probably going to end up with a frothy beer moustache. She's just generally going to, make an event of it, have a good time.
Okay. Captain Irving, after sort of disconnecting from his lively conversation with Plaxi, is going to wander over and gets a little bit upset that you are mixing his his meticulous favorite brew with a bunch of other materials, and he begins to sort of critique the flavor palette that you're creating and how those don't go together. Would Nanny try and argue with him, ignore him, punch him? How would she respond?
No, she'd just get very argumentative. She'd be like, "Oh, well, I suppose you're the gourmet around here. You know all about marinara flavors, don't you? Maybe you should try it before you knock it. You might be able to expand into the food industry if you can cook good stuff with your brews."
I also love.
So then I guess
I'm gonna out Elodie for a second. I also love that Elodie was worried that their vocal game was not going to rise to the occasion, like that their voice would not hold up, and then just busted that out because that. So sorry.
No, that's solid. So why don't we make a luck test to see how well Granny's marinara turns out?
I also just love bone broth marinara
With some beer in it. It's like beer.
I mean, it is what the Irish would do to Italian food. Let's be honest.
So you're going to roll 2 6-sided dice underneath your luck.
Oh, that was lucky. I got a 6. My luck is 7.
Oh, perfect. All right. And then you reduce your luck by 1 after you use it. whether you succeed or fail. So, Captain Irving, like you've sort of argued him into a position of like, at least try it. You have to try it. If you claim to care about palates and flavors, you have to be open to new experiences. And so he like sits by, grumpily drinking his brew for about an hour or two as you finish your preparations, and then you dip a ladle into it and you hand it over to him. He takes a little sip, and his eyes light up real big, and he gets really excited. And then he kind of remembers that he was upset before, and he kind of visibly composes himself. He says, "It's all right," and then he walks away. And I think, once again, because you've distilled the brew with a bunch of water and food and other flavors, do you think Nanny would be negatively affected by this, or do you think that she'll be fine?
I think she'd probably go into a bit of a food coma, and like whether or not that resembles a drunken stupor to people is kind of up to the individual, I guess.
Have you rolled for how many provisions you have?
Yeah, I got 12.
All right. If you haven't done that, Derek and Tony, you can. We'll say that stew you made took up 3 provisions worth of supplies and materials. All right. And Granny's got Nanny's got kind of like a healthy buzz, good vibes going on.
Just out of curiosity, Manny did cook something in the cauldron, it sounds like. Does that trigger anything?
Not unless Nanny used any special ingredients.
Okay.
Oh, you used the horns from your sporn, didn't you?
Yeah, I did throw a couple of horns in.
So according to the recipes that I have here, you need at least 2 special ingredients to make something.
Okay. So
does somebody want to add to this? And we'll make some random nonsense.
I've already been pushed off to the side, so I don't think I was there to add anything. I was unceremoniously dragged off.
Yeah, Plexi, do you want to add some mushrooms to this?
I think I'll offer a snap stripe mushroom to dump in.
Okay.
You know what goes good with marinara? Mushrooms.
Yeah, I know what goes good with marinara, and it's not whatever you're going to offer me. Stay away. I know what I'm doing.
All right, let's just trying to offer. You can enjoy your marinara without it. Maybe I'll just munch on one of these mushrooms. I'm feeling a little good.
Well, with only one.
I'm just a control freak when it comes to food.
Then I think this is just going to end up being some perfectly normal and delicious marinara. Nothing magical about it. All right. So you pass the hours away, letting things digest. Captain Irving comes along and goes through like a normal list of questions. And then Plaxi and Nanny are ushered through the gatehouse. Dindri, how have you been passing the time for the last couple hours? You weren't allowed to leave the gatehouse, but you also couldn't like return with them.
There was a lot of like loud sermons about those who think that their brew is strong but is actually weak, that were fairly pointed while I was off waiting in the corner during that period of time. So that's I've been passing the time, just systematically theologically demolishing the work of these distillers and brewers.
Okay. All right.
There's on my handwritten sandwich board, which is a chalkboard, it just now says suds are duds.
And I guess what should we do? Let's see. Nanny, what do you do with the rest of the marinade after you've had your fill and you forced Captain Irving to have some? Are you going to keep it for yourself, or do you try to hand it out to others?
I probably decant it into like little drinking horns and like hand them out and go, this is just a taste of a future combined effort between Nanny McGruffin's cooking and this fine brewery. Watch out for it in your local store.
Captain Irving is like shaking his head. And to his dismay, it's a big hit. Everybody else is really excited about it. If you keep a little bit for yourself, we can say that like a jar of your marmalade counts as a fresh ingredient. I think that'll count.
Yeah,
We'll go
sure.
with that.
Does my gallon of miracle water count as an?
Well, food is money, water is gold. So
Got some gold.
If we need a little bit of water, yeah.
All right.
There's value.
Fictive
But I
Fun
don't think it
also
would
in the
count as an
chat.
ingredient.
Fictive Fun says, blasphemy, all marinara is magical when you are hungry. It's true, Fictive. You're right.
All right.
So is it the next? We had to wait the whole night, right? So it's the next morning.
Yep. You sort of
Okay.
pass the time on the couch or chatting with people. There's like a little kind of like a hostel for folks to nap off whatever hangover they're experiencing. And then in the morning, Captain Irving, who is starting his day pretty early with you see him take a shot of something dark and like almost like syrupy. And he slams it on the table. He goes, "Okay, let's go. Let's get you out of here." And he like wipes his beard and stumbles out of the gatehouse. Says, "And take your damn preacher friend with you."
I have put pamphlets
you
in
are-
everyone's traveling luggage. Just FYI.
I'll only
Uh,
take him if you give me another one of them
I did
growlers.
not y'all. Everybody
choice.
else's traveling luggage. Y'all can get pamphlets whenever you want.
Captain Irving gives you like a big sort of satisfied grin. He's like, "I just finished a batch. I made it triple strong for a troll like yourself. Try it. Don't let anyone else drink it. It'll kill a human, but I think it should give you a nice little buzz." And he gives you a special growler full of thrice strong troll brew.
Nice. Love it.
As Captain Irving is escorting you out, he's giving like the normal spiel. "Thank you for passing through the Gate of Libations. We appreciate your input. You can purchase our growlers for a small fee, blah, blah, blah." And as soon as he's out of earshot, he kind of brings you in a huddle together. He says, "I work for the Union, and I have a special mission for you, that I need someone of strong constitution with impeccable taste to execute this. Are you willing?"
He brings all
So
three
the
of us
union,
in.
you said.
He brings all three of us in for that.
He does.
Say, well, what are these two gonna do?
From this point on, he only talks to Blacksea.
What you need doing?
So he says, I'm something of a double agent. The aristocracy funds the gatehouse, but I try and turn some of the profits and some of the brews over to the hardworking people of this town. And I try to play both sides and protect the people wherever I can. I have a special brew that will give workers the energy and the strength they need to work long, hard shifts. And I want you to take this brew down to the workplace. Do you think you can do that for me? And he points to this huge barrel. It's almost as big as Plaxi is. It would take like two of you to roll it and someone else in the front to like direct it and manage it. And he says the aristocrats never get up before noon. It's about 7:30 now. If you're quick, you can get this to the workhouse before any of those fancy jerks wake up.
How far away is the workhouse? Is that like a quick jaunt, or is it like
With
three
the barrel,
bridge
it'll
sections
probably
over?
take a solid 3 hours. You'll have to move quick if you're going to make it.
I
Quickly
think
to
we
the
can get them
workhouse,
to
and I motion for
come
you to
along.
follow me.
He asks what you want as a reward. He says, I can offer you any of our brews. We've got lots of different flavors and options. If you just need provisions, I can give you provisions. Information. What do you need?
I think we'd like some information.
A business partnership.
We're looking. We could go with that. We're looking to make a stew for the end times. We're looking for a few different ingredients. So if you could either point us in the right direction, you know, maybe we'd be willing to fund your, or at least roll your barrel.
He says he is still pointedly ignoring Nanny. He heard the suggestion and he's not going to engage with Nanny or Dendrick unless he absolutely has to. And he focuses entirely on Plaxi to the point where like he's circled around Plaxi, putting himself on the other side so that he doesn't have to look at Dendrick and Nanny. And he says, okay, so you're looking for something magical, something fresh, or something secret. He says, I can give you a secret ingredient that we use in some of our brews, or I can give you some fresh berries that go in our ciders. Which one would you like?
What do you think? You think we should get the secret? I think we can get our own berries. I say to Dendrick and Nanny.
I'm over clearly positioned on the other side of this very large barrel so that I can lead the way. And I say, whichever one is handy, we have to go if we're going to get there on time.
We'll take whichever one's right there.
He says, okay. And he leans forward and he whispers a secret ingredient to you. He says, the secret ingredient to a lot of our brews is time. And the way that he says the word, the secret ingredients are kind of like Norse mythology dwarven elements, like a cat's shadow, the sound of footfalls, a baby's first giggle. So when he says the word time, there's kind of a resonance to it, and the area around you slows down a little bit, and you sort of somehow you take this secret ingredient of time into your personhood, and you have it, and you realize you can put it into the cauldron when the time comes.
All right, let's get to rolling.
All right. And the ingredient of time takes up 2 of your slots. In Troika, you can carry 12 things without any trouble. More than that will be tricky.
I like how the abstracted, disembodied concept of time takes up 2 slots.
I told you, Troika's the only.
I love
rule
it.
system
No,
for this.
seriously, so good.
All right. And then the fresh ingredient is that marinade. That's right. So you'll have 2 of the 5 that we need. Cool.
I love how before it went from marinara to marinade to marmalade.
I forgot. Sorry.
Look, if you marinate marinara, it eventually will turn into marmalade. That's not true.
No,
Probably not.
That is concerningly false, Tony. Don't be.
I've got some character bleed happening right now. Sorry.
All right, so let's start moving this barrel. So the location after you pass through the Gate of Libations, this upcoming location is the heights and depths. Houses are thin and tall. There are a couple like thin alleyways that lead through the middle of the bridge, and this place is packed. There are like roadways and walkways multiple levels up, because this place has lots of people and lots of bustling activity, but the bridge is only so wide, so there's lots of like multiple layers of walkways, and the passageway along the ground level is too thin for the barrel. You'll have to lift it up to one of the larger walkways. And there are a lot of workers around, but as promised, the aristocrats have not woken up yet and made their big announcements. So you still have some time.
Excellent.
For expediency, why don't you can either do, each of you can either test your luck to help move the barrel quickly, or you can make a skill check if you have a skill that would be useful.
I have a skill that would be useful. It would be better for me to just test my luck. So we need to get it. You said up. We need to get the barrel up. Is that what you said?
Yep, one of the higher walkways is wider,
Yeah.
so you have to get it up there and then roll it down.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, up is just a different type of down, really. when you think about it. And in their groggy early morning state, I approach some of these workers and I say, "Workers of the world, unite! What is down but a different type of up if you think about it?" And I lead them through just like kind of an early morning meditation reflection on really how we go from fully understanding that down is up and that up is down, most of which is involving lifting this barrel up so that we can know that it is truly down.
Okay. And what skill is that?
I could be using religion or oration, and I'm happy to roll either one. And I do not actually think it makes a difference based on my skill level. But
okay,
we could just say it's a blended oration religion roll. As I look to find my character sheet and all of my many tabs. Yeah, they're the same. They're the same skill level, and so.
Perfect.
That's a 1, which is great, and that's a 3, which is a 4 again.
Very nice. Okay, yeah, you've recruited a couple helpers. I like to imagine that you give this huge big speech, and then Plaxi kind of also whispers like, "It's for the union. Just help us out."
For sure.
But either way,
he will stop talking if you just do the thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. Yeah, because the people that are awake already are the workers, right? So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Plus, this is for you guys. It's going to be good. You'll enjoy it.
And yeah, with their help, you get about 6 or 7 workers who all help lift it up, and you get it up to the top, and then they go back their other ways. So now it's up to Nanny and Plaxi to move this thing along the walkway. Are you going to test your luck? We'll start with Nanny. You going to test your luck or use a skill?
I think Nanny would like to stand on the barrel and just like roll it with her feet, with her hooves rather, which I suppose would be either run or acrobatics.
If you're going for speed, you can use run, and then it'll be up to Plaxi to like steer it. If you want to steer it, go with acrobatics.
No, run. Just want to Just want to go as fast as possible, like Fast and the Furious, but it's a goat in a barrel. And that's 9. So that would be,
That
that's
would
not
be over.
unfortunately.
Oh, that's close too. Okay.
Very close.
So your two choices that you can control, Nanny, are not fast enough or too fast. Which one are we getting here?
Too fast.
All right.
She's already committed to it.
Okay. So Plaxi, that's going to make your job a little trickier because you're going to have to steer this thing while it is going far too fast.
I think while luck would be the best choice metagame wise, I think awareness of where the barrel's rolling at any given point, as well as like looking ahead to what's either too fast or too slow in front of us, I think is my awareness. So I will test awareness.
Well, and from a mechanical perspective, just as a fun bit of Troika trivia, whenever you roll luck, you are trying to mitigate or lessen some kind of consequence. So luck would be a better roll, yes, but it means there will still be some kind of consequence. You're just making it less bad. Whereas if you roll skill, you are taking control of the situation and you can do it perfectly. So that's kind of your trade-off.
All the more reason. Here we go. Oh no. 10 over 7.
Okay. So we are currently going too fast and we are currently going too furious. So Dendrick, do you have an idea to stop a barrel that is going too quickly and is out of control?
I mean, what is being out of control but surrendering to a greater form of control?
Have you seen Mystery Men, Tony?
I have.
There's a character named the Sphinx who just says everything two ways.
I
get that vibe.
It's so great. That is,
order...
I absolutely love that and adore that movie, and that is one of the many very, very good bits in it. Yeah, it's out of control. Do I have any ideas? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, what is being out of control but a form of surrendering to greater control? By greater control, the only thing greater than this out of control thing, obviously around here, is me. And so Dendrick is going to hop up on top of this out of control barrel as it starts rolling towards him. And I am going to run. Tony, the person, does not fully understand exactly. I'm trying to think through it math magically. I think I'm running the opposite direction that it is going to try to slow it down and get control back, right? Because it would be going this way. So anyways, I'm running around on top of it, trying to get it back under control. And so this is a skill that is not promising.
You can roll luck if you want to just try and minimize.
Yeah, I
damage.
could, but man, what a sucker would do that. What happens if you roll your skill? Is that success or failure?
Matching is a success.
Okay, then I succeed.
Okay.
Doesn't understand what you're trying to do. She thinks that you're doing a Hail Mary run with her, and you're doing like a suicide pact almost.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it is a Hail Mary run. It's a very religious act to surrender oneself unto the barrel.
Yeah. She lights her beard up. She offers her flint to you, and then she just raises her arms and says, "The fat pastures await us, my brother."
It's like it is a good day to die kind of battle cry as we charge into. Okay.
with burning goat beard. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm running counter to this thing to slow it down and get it under control.
Okay. All right.
Do you set your beard on fire?
I don't. I don't know. Look, this is player to character bleed. I don't know that I could ever do that to a character. This beard.
So we have a barrel that is going too fast, is out of control, and you have managed to regain some control. What this means is that you get to choose between doing lots of damage on the way to the destination, or you can choose to have the group absorb that damage as everybody works to get it under control, and they like get splinters and some rug burn and like maybe trip and stumble a few times, twisting an ankle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sign is we do as much damage as possible on the way as a sign of like, look, when the glory of the divine passes by, if you look at it, it will hurt you. Like, you should avert your eyes when majesty passes through, and that's what's happening right now.
Okay.
Is the thing my character is saying out loud as we literally barrel down the street.
All right. So you inflict not a massive amount of damage. Nobody dies or anything. No buildings are torn over. But you like take out the equivalent of a couple mailboxes. You ruin a garden, and you knock over a couple store signs as you tear your way through the center of this packed, towering city.
Yeah. In that mail, from those mailboxes, as you look down, definitely pamphlets in every single one of those piles now.
Throwing them as you run past.
I think purposefully, Plaxi will kind of like roll the barrel a couple times into the lawns of the wealthy upper echelon people to make sure that we don't destroy the nice houses of the small man who's working for the man. Yelling, "It's for the workers! Workers unite!" I see like stomps on a hedge.
Okay, great. I love it. All right, so eventually, you do reach the end. As the homes sort of thin out, the walkway that you're on angles down, and eventually you're back on the bridge level, and the towering homes and bustling like trade, like markets and stores, sort of give way to a more industrial environment. Most of the work done here is some kind of like multi-level fields that to capture the water, grow the food, that kind of thing, as well as some sewers. Many strip spans of the bridge have sewers that run along the bottom, and that's dangerous work because you're dangling above the underfog, like digging pipes and making sure that the plumbing is working. So
as the underfog spreads out above you, we get it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And is the multi-level farms where they get the goods to sell at the multi-level market?
Yep, that's exactly right. And of course, the average worker makes only a pittance of that profit. All right, so you arrive. The workers are being led. So imagine a carriage being drawn by horses, only this time the carriage is being drawn by a bunch of large goats. And sitting in the carriage is the biggest troll you've ever seen. He introduces himself as Mr. Debris. He runs the union in this town. And he is so large and so old, his skin has begun to calcify, and he can't move himself anymore. He has some pet goats that like draw him around on a big carriage. He intercepts the barrel. He connects with y'all, and he explains in a thick, like deep Southern Louisiana accent that I cannot replicate. He explains that this brew will be given to the workers to fuel them and spur them on to work even longer shifts than they could before. And he thanks you for bringing this new resource to him.
So glad we were helping the work.
He makes no mention of a union. He simply talks about how this will allow him to fuel his workers to work even longer and harder than before. And he motions for them to take the barrel.
It's truly a miracle.
But by longer works, you mean shorter, right? Because they're going to have more breaks.
Or comprehensive overtime pay, possibly.
Is the compensation going to be reprehensible, or will it actually be something they can take home to the little children?
Sensing that there's a some, what am I thinking of? What's the term? There's some dissent among his delivery people. He sort of switches into this smooth talking, buzzword laden corporate language, like, oh, this is going to improve our synergy. This is going to allow for greater rewards. There'll be there's lots of perks that this will enable them to enjoy. A lot of our benefits that we offer can be enjoyed more vigorously with this brew.
They're gamifying the outcome of this.
Right. And he says to thank Captain Irving for once again serving the hardworking leaders of this town. And
can I would like to use oration to just, I totally follow the jargon that he is saying, and also keep on pressing him further and further in his buzzwordiness. I don't know why I'm doing this yet. Give me a second, but I do this because it is one of my favorite. Anytime in any of the industry people start buzzwording in a conversation with me, I will just goad them into as much vote. I'm going to figure out what my goal is in a second, but that's what I'm doing right now, and I am successful at it.
Okay. Are you just distracting him so that the other two can do something?
I think I might be distracting him so that other people can act. Because I like literally, I'm deep into like the way that the conglomeration of assets is going to increase the overall output of the restabilized reality of the workers focus. And so like we're just going.
Yep. So we can monetize our deliverables in a new
100%.
paradigm.
Yep. So if anybody else wants to do something specific to this guy that's way worse than just distracting him by goading him along, this is a great time to do
it. Nanny's gonna try and surreptitiously sneak up to the goats and like do the sign of the horns and say, "Workers, rise up with the
union." Can you talk to goats, Nanny, or are you still a little hungover?
You can try.
I guess what I'm wondering is, are you trying to like horses can have commands, and if you use the right motion or the right command or tone of voice, they'll do something. Are you trying to get the goats to do something, or are you trying to like tame them or win them over? What is Nanny's goal here?
Her goal is to ingratiate herself with them and like infiltrate the union. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think you need to roll for that. As a Gruff Oak, you have a connection to any goat-like creature. And they're very happy to see you. They will eat whatever treats you give them. They'll like excitedly nuzzle their head up to your hand, and they won't even try to like bite your sporin or eat some of your shoes. They're very, very friendly with you.
I'll give them each a horn as a chew toy.
Okay, that's probably not great. Do goats eat each other? Is that a thing?
I mean,
probably. I don't know.
I mean, they eat a lot of stuff. Thuban just asked why the game is set to be in Pokemon Scarlet / Violet. Sorry if you were here waiting for us to start catching them all. We are playing
I
Troika.
choose you, don't you?
Yeah, but we can probably capture something Pokemon-esque in the meantime if we need to. I'm gonna see if I can edit categories Pokemon Scarlet.
This is how Tony gets his viewers, is he just mislabels all of his viewers.
It's true.
Oh, we're playing Breath of the Wild 2 right now. You could come and catch an early preview. Tears of the Kingdom right now. Plexi, how is Plexi reacting to all of this?
So
what are you gonna do about this?
Plaxi is there's workers around, right? Like they're kind of like in the outskirts, and you can like see them looking out, waiting for the whatever.
There's a bunch of them that are coming to get the barrel and do what he's asking. So
yeah, so Plaxi is gonna kind of sneak off out of the view of this Mr. Debris here, and he's gonna approach the workers and give them each a provision of his own to hey, for the extra work. I'm so happy that you're working so hard, but I'm concerned that it sounds like you're not getting everything that you need to be getting. So here, take this home to your families today. Also, while you're there, talk to your spouses and your little ones about the union. It's time for your voice to be heard. And I'm proselytizing to them about the union. I don't have any pamphlets or anything, but I think I may have stole some of Tony's, Dindrik's pamphlets, and maybe like scribbled on the back in like sludge, union, call this number, or like talk to your senators, whatever you would say in BridgeTown, right? That would correspond to that.
Actually, when you read some of my pamphlets, you notice that like a good 80% of them are actually already union pamphlets that I have edited some of the words on.
Perfect. So I've actually like recrossed out Dindrik's stuff. And then at the end, I'm gonna try to sabotage the cart that they have that Debris is sitting in.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know how or why or whatever, but I don't know. Maybe I like I know. I'm gonna take this rope that I have, and I'm gonna tie it amongst the spokes of the wheels across underneath, so that when they try to go, they'll probably just pull in each other, maybe break the spokes of the wagon, and hopefully the whole thing just kind of goes boom.
Okay, good plan. Let's see if you can do it.
Maybe that's awareness as a skill.
I don't know
that I really have a skill for it.
I think we'll go with awareness because you're trying to do it surreptitiously. So I'm down for that.
Oh, so bad. That's a 12.
Wow.
So as far off the marks I could get. Yeah.
Yes. Troika doesn't have like critical failures built into it, but I think we should lean in on that because that's a really bad roll.
I am A-okay with that.
While David thinks about what to do about that, I just want to let people know that Go-Goat is a quadruped hooved Pokemon similar to a goat. The fur on its face is white with fluffier fur on the chin, and on the back of its head is dark brown. It has a black nose, red eyes encircled by black markings, a brown blaze on the middle of its face, and has rounded ears. On top of its head are a pair of curving black horns. They were domesticated about 5,000 years ago. often used for transport. They're said to have empathic abilities that allow them to sense the feeling of whoever grips their horns. And it does this by sensing subtle changes in the grip. And the leader of a herd is decided by a battle through horns. Its pre-evolution is Skiddo, and it's the only Pokemon with the ability of Grass Pelt. It is a grass-type Pokemon, typically found at about 50-50 female to male ratio, and its Pokedex color is brown, and its base friendship is 70.
Wow.
For those of
I
you who
think we
tuned in for
earned our
Pokemon
tag.
tech, yeah. And so, just FYI, and a Grass Pelt ability is it's a defense ability that increases your defense by 50%.
Yep. And you can download most Pokemon games from piratebay.com.
Yep.
And enjoy all of the.
Yep. You can download most Pokemon. You can if you go to ttrpg.link/BridgeTownKS and back this project, it comes with a goat creature very similar to Go-Goat in the pages. Think of it like a Go-Goat simulator.
You're gonna get my Kickstarter taken down by
I'm
Nintendo.
not.
They
I'm not.
don't
Legally distinct, but very similar.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. See, right now we're trying to catch all the ingredients to
Yep,
this stew.
yep.
Gotta catch them all.
You remember the cooking mini game in that one Pokemon series? It's like that.
Oh yeah, just like that with the berry mixer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same thing. So you are not surreptitiously sabotaging the cart. However, I think there's an opportunity here to basically make a big scene and try to get things riled up and start a riot or something, equally fun. Do you want to lean into that, or do we just want to like get out of here while the getting's good before the soldiers get called?
Oh, I think we
And
lean heavy into this. I mean, I'm going to. I don't know about the other two at the party, but
yeah, let's
the
cut
chaos
to
may
Nanny.
be calling.
Nanny, what currently Dendrick is distracting Mr. Debris, the giant troll. Plaxi is trying to rig up some kind of like damage or sabotage. What is Nanny doing during this time?
No, we need a very special ingredient for our brew that will power the rebellion. You can help us, can't you? And then she cuts them loose.
Awesome. Okay, so now we have another alternative option here. You can jump on the goats and ride them off towards the ingredient that they're leading you to instead of staying and starting a riot. What are we thinking?
Can I light the cart on fire as I leave?
I think burning a troll alive might be a little bit more dark than this game has been. If you want to ignite the alcohol barrel, you could do that. The one with the magical work brew.
Yeah, let's. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And once again, you have the choice between doing skill or doing luck. Luck is going to be less consequences, but still some, and skill is going to be you have total control of the situation.
I think that remember my triple brew that I got? I think I'm gonna smash that on the ground next to the barrel and toss some tinder moss on that and give it a light with my flint knife, and I'm gonna roll luck to see if I can get away quick enough.
Okay.
From
I'm
the
down.
ignition.
All right.
And I do.
Oh, perfect. All right. So we have The big barrel is about to ignite. Nanny has freed some goat mounts for us to ride away. Dindrik, what is your plan?
I
Are you
lean
gonna
in
jump on
really,
a
I
goat,
really
or
lean
do you
really
have something
close as
else?
we've been going back and forth, me and Mr. Debris, and I say, well, just remember the one thing that they teach for any 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 Alpha 7 class, and that's give over great options around time card, or as you say it quickly, go goat, and I hop on top of one of the goats and ride it off.
Wow, you really brought that home, Tony. That was good.
I blended Pokemon facts, corporate synergy, and dumb puns all into one thing.
Yeah, no,
It's a true BridgeTown miracle.
That's really good. Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Who even needs to roll
All right.
wonderworking when you can just do it?
So here's the sequence of events. Oh, and you're gonna lose your rope, Plaxi. Even though you weren't effective, you're still spent your rope trying to tie off that sabotage. So the goats are cut loose. As soon as the goats are cut loose and begin to like run away, Plaxi strikes the flint, which begins to burn. Jumps on. Plaxi has to ride two of the goats because he's a rather large troll, and then Nanny rides the other goat, and Dindrik manages to jump on the last goat right as the barrel ignites. The workers saw what was happening and ran away, so none of them were injured. But the cart that Mr. Debris was on is damaged. There's a ton of damage done to like the current work construction project, and the barrel filled with special workers brew is totally destroyed. And the three of y'all ride off into the sunset. The goats are supposedly leading you towards your next ingredient. Let's see. We're missing a fresh ingredient, a magic ingredient, and a secret ingredient. Let's see if we can do all three of those, or at least two of them. So, unlike the workers managed by Mr. Debris and the aristocrats, a lot of the folks working smaller independent farms are actually doing pretty well. They pay their workers okay, and they're managing to sort of stay afloat while competing with the bigger mass production stuff. And the goats lead you towards one of the larger rooftop farms that they usually go to steal snacks when they're taking Mr. Debris from place to place across town. And they lead you to this farm. I think I have an NPC. Yes. They lead you right to Granny Rook's farm. Granny Rook is an old gruff oak, the oldest that anyone has ever seen. And she maintains an inn on the first floor and then a farm on the second floor. And she cooks all of her own food and serves it in the inn. The inn is known as the Castle and Crow.
The Castle and Crow?
Mm-hmm. And Granny is tending her farm when she hears like the jingle of the bells from the goats. And she sort of looks up expecting to feed her little rebel goats that occasionally stop by. And instead, the goats barge into the garden carrying passengers. And they like deposit you in a heap. And there's like a bunch of dust and mud and waters everywhere. A small patch of the garden is ruined as you make your entrance. And everything like comes to a big, loud clump of just goats and people and troll. Granny just kind of sits back and watches this happen.
I gotta
She
know.
like leans against one of her apple trees.
I gotta
and
know
watches.
off the rip. Do Granny and Nanny know each other? Because that matters.
What I'm imagining is that she's my mentor who taught me how to cook.
Yeah, she's Nanny's granny. That's what I was thinking. like Nanny is like 75 years old and Granny is like 105 years old. Right? Is that how you saw Nanny?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Anyway, she's probably very excited to show her old granny her latest recipe.
So Granny was your mentor. What did she mentor you in? Cooking or fighting or both?
I'm trying to figure out how I could combine them into a specific skill, like a combined skill.
Kung Pao?
What was that?
Nothing. Maybe it's so maybe it's more of a holistic apprenticeship of like you cook the meals and then I teach you how to fight and you got good at both during the course of that process.
Yeah, and you know, maybe she in her time was like the stylized cooking battle champion. Like this world equivalent to the Iron Chef.
Okay. So maybe the gruff folk take their cooking a little bit more combatively than other communities. Okay,
I
great.
think there's a precedent for that.
Agreed, 100%. All right. So Granny was your chef sensei.
Yep.
All right, sweet.
Fruit ninja.
So yeah, your chef ninja. So Granny's sitting back watching this everything come to a head. Granny recognizes Nanny right off the bat. And she kind of Granny like pulls out her stick and begins to come over, and she immediately begins to criticize while you're laying in the mud. She criticizes your form, your recovery, and your reflexes due to this entrance. And she sort of stands over you and says, "Why have you forgotten everything I taught you?"
Nanny's gonna leap to her feet, kick the stick out from under Granny, and like pin her to the ground.
So Granny 30 years ago would have totally come back with like a counterattack and something like that. The Granny of today manages to fall gracefully, and she like grabs the stick and sort of brings it up underneath your chin as she's lying on the mud. She's like, "If I still had my sword, you'd be dead right now."
Perhaps it's you who've forgotten your lessons, Granny.
I think Granny gives a begrudging, respectful nod and then says, "Help me up and we'll clean up this mess that you've made."
Yeah, okay, I help her up.
All right. So Granny has named all of the goats, of course. They're Wilbert, Albert, Dilbert, and Calbert. And she feeds them all her regular treats. And it puts the rest of you to work tidying up the garden. A couple like plants were kicked out of the dirt. She wants you to resettle them. And she's very critical about how they're planted, how they're managed. And she basically takes a few hours putting y'all to work, getting her garden back in order. And when soldiers run past looking for a bunch of folks who did damage to Mr. Debris, they ignore Granny and her mud-covered assistants. And she sort of gives you a knowing smile. After you've gotten the garden back in order, she says, "Thank you for fixing your mistake and returning my garden back to order. I'd be happy to reward your hard work with a little more hard work and then a good meal. Is that fair?
Yes.
I'm eager to show you what I've learned in the battlefield that is the kitchen.
The most dangerous battles of all. So Granny, as you are going down to the inn, the first floor, she picks off a couple fresh fruits and gives them to each of you. Those will count as fresh ingredients, because you have also tilled and worked the same soil that they grew out of, so they count as a special fresh ingredient. And she leads you down into the inn and puts you to work washing dishes, scrubbing floors, cleaning tables. She asks about the soldiers who were looking for you. She kind of gets caught up on the whole story. And then she finishes with a very open-ended question that she takes the time to ask and engage with each one of you. She starts by going to Dendrick and says, "What are you looking for, dearie? What are you doing here?"
Sorry, I was meditating, says Dendrick.
She sort of waits a little bit for some more clarification.
You know, spiritually.
She says, "The clearest mind only comes from hard work and dangerous battles."
And what is hard work if you think about it? But hardly working. Some say that to sit and be still is the hardest work of all.
Granny shakes her long, shaggy hair. She says, "Your master would be ashamed of you."
The easy solution to that is to have no masters but yourself.
I think she would leave. She was hoping for some kind of connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Exchange of stories or something, and Dendrick is offering nothing.
I could sense her deep desire for wisdom and spiritual connection. And I feel like I delivered. If she's not on my level, there's really I can't do anything about that. Like, she's still seeking the wisdom of a master. I have mastered myself.
That's fair. I respect that. It's very much a the dude abides kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Is kind of what I'm getting. Okay.
It really ties the whole conversation together if you think about it.
That's right. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's good. And she leaves with kind of a shrug and like a frustrated grunt, and while she makes her way over to Plaxi, who is scrubbing the ceiling. He's tall enough to reach some of the rafters and get up into the crooks, the crannies and nooks. And she sits next to Plaxi and she says, "So what are you looking for, dearie? What are you doing?"
Well, it seems that I don't know how you get that up there, but it's just a spot. It won't come out.
No, I mean, what are you doing here in town? Why are you upsetting soldiers and causing trouble?
Oh, well, you see, the soldiers, they're just a part of the system. And the workers, they were all just, getting manhandled by Mr. Desbury. Well, we decided to show them that what the workers are willing to fight for and how they're willing to fight. And I got in a little bit of trouble.
but I think we're okay now. So
Okay.
here we are. Also, we're trying to make a stew, and this place smells wonderful. Can you help us?
She kind of looks around her inn. She says, I taught my apprentice well. That's why I put her to work in the kitchen. And it does smell excellent. I take full credit for everything that she's learned and all the skills that she's perfected. She says, the most important thing to me is a drive and passion for life, a clear goal. And I'm glad that I instilled that within my apprentice. And it seems like you also have a clear goal. I'm very disappointed in your loud friend. He seems to be more listless and roaming.
Well, you know, if you just listen to him for a bit, you learn to just kind of stop listening to him.
I'll just start by not listening to him.
Yes,
what
to stop
ingredients are you
listening
missing?
is the beginning of wisdom.
What ingredients are you missing for this stew? I'm familiar with all kinds.
Well, we need some magical stuff. We got a secret. I ain't gonna tell you because, well, I don't know if I can trust you yet. Although you're probably pretty good because, I mean, like Nanny's cool and all. So if she's cool with you, then you're probably cool too. But anyway, we're missing our magical stuff. We got a couple of fresh things. One of them, Nanny, she made it herself. It was great. It was this marinade or marmalade. I forget which it is. And got to try some. She was handing it out to all the workers down at the whatever it's called, the place I forgot, the Libations Guild there. And they loved it. They loved it. Even old Captain Irvin there. You ever met Captain Irvin? Yeah, even he liked it, even though he didn't want to admit it. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, so we're just missing the magical stuff. That's what we're looking for.
So you came through the Gate of Libations on that side?
Yeah. We got good. Well, I did. The stuff wasn't that libatious, I guess I should say. And you know, but Nanny, she got a little tipsy. It was pretty funny. At one point, she was dancing around the kitchen with the cauldron. Do you see the cauldron over there? She was like dancing around and having a good old time, throwing stuff in. Yeah.
She partook of alcohol?
I mean, not if she wasn't supposed to.
Good recovery, Flexi. That is such like a friend thing to say to someone's mom. Oh, we didn't go there. Never. I was confused. I don't know why I said that. We never did that.
No, it was all water. They said it was just water. That's what it tasted like to me. And you should have tried Dindrix. I think you might still have some of it. It's very non-alcoholic water, and I think that's all that Nanny drank too. Definitely just water.
I don't think Granny's gonna buy it. But she does absorb the information. She hears what you're looking for, and she thinks to herself if she knows any magic ingredients. She pulls out some of some like bread and soup that she made earlier and puts it on the table, a triple portion for your troll self. And she says, "Thank you for all your hard work and for helping with the garden and cleaning up the tavern. Please sit, eat, enjoy the food. I'm going to go check in on my apprentice. Don't let the loud one eat any of that. That's your food. Don't let him mooch off of you.
This is delicious.
Are you already eating stuff?
Yeah. But like, I'm also not like, I'm taking a bite of a lot of things and then putting them back as if I had not.
She like tries to hit your wrist with the stick, but you're already gone, and she just gets more frustrated and like stumbles away and goes back into the kitchen. So Nanny, did you and Granny during your training, did you part on good terms? Is what I'm wondering.
I think I left to find myself because I realized that, you know, there was something I was missing. And, you know, I like failed her final test and I was like, I'm going to have to wander the world and find the fat pastures, find someone worthy of battling me so that I may return and do her proud.
Mm. So you do want to impress her.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So she enters prepared to critique, as she often does. And she kind of comes over to where you're working on and what you're making. And she says, it smells good, but the consistency doesn't look right. And I don't think you should have added the ingredients before the soup came to a full boil. And she starts like making little nitpick criticisms, just like she used to. How do you respond? Do you fall back into old apprentice patterns, or do you push back as an adult now?
For a while, I just ignore her. I just like keep juggling the vegetables and like chopping them up as they fall into the pot. And then I look back at her and I say, my nanny, my granny, my nonna, my sensei, I must apologize. I left to find the fat pastures, to find someone who could give me a proper good fight. And ever since I've been gone, I've lost my way. And I've lost my sense of direction, and I don't know what to do now. I'm sorry. I failed you.
There's like a strangely comfortable silence after that admission. She watches you prepare and continue to cook a little bit, and she looks to you and she says, well, the soup does smell really good. Maybe your cooking decisions will turn out okay. We'll have to see how things go when it's complete. Do you need any help with anything?
I'd love a refresher on your skills.
Okay.
As only a granny.
She like sidles up next to you and she sort of she shifts her stick into her other hand and like reaches for one of the knives, and with like a quick sweep she knocks your legs out from under you and like pins you to the floor with the tip of her staff. She says, never drop your guard. And then she helps you back up. She says, also you're chopping the onions wrong here. And she shows you like a couple things, and you two make the rest of the soup together. When the soup is complete and Granny has tasted it, she gives you like one of her rare smiles of approval. And she says, even though you didn't quite know what you were doing and you got a little bit confused, I think the soup turned out okay. And I think you will also turn out okay. Even if I don't agree with everything you've done. No more alcohol, by the way. That distracts a warrior from their focus. And your friend is frustrating. But I do want to help you.
She like momentarily just like reverts to like a kid who's only like 40 years old, doesn't have her horns yet. She's like, thank you, Granny. I'll remember your lessons.
And Granny kind of pulls you into a hug. And behind your back, she adds a little bit more seasoning to the soup and then returns to hugging you. So she brings out the soup that you've finished. She shares some with Plaxi. She leaves a bowl out for Dendrick, but does not put a spoon or any kind of implement, no napkins or anything, and sets the bowl on like the far side of the table, implying that you stay away.
While she's doing that, I sit down at the head of the table where her bowl already was and just begin to eat.
She kind of shakes her head. He's not my apprentice. He's not my apprentice. He's not my apprentice. And she walks and picks up the bowl that she set over there and brings it for herself. She takes a deep breath and she says, okay. Thank you again for all of your help with the garden and with the tavern, for the cooking and the cleaning. And thank you for sticking up for the workers. Mr. Debris and Captain Irving and the aristocrats have been pushing down this city for a while. He says, I want to help you in exchange for a copy of the recipe so that I can also make that stew and serve the people who come to my inn and need it. Is that fair?
Of course. But you'll
All right.
have to fight us for it.
She kind of looks at Dendrick. She says, if you think about it, making peace with someone is the ultimate battle and the hardest fight of all.
Now you're getting it. And I slurp way too loudly this soup.
So Granny walks over and lifts up her staff and knocks, she taps her staff against the plaque on the wall. And she says, this keystone is the most valuable thing that I own. Like all keystones, it contains the souls of those who have passed on. And this keystone contains the souls of all of my previous masters and our entire school. But I think they would want to be a part of what this stew recipe could represent for people. If we spread this recipe around, everybody could have access to the perfect food in plenty supply. And so she knocks the plaque down and puts it on the table, and with like a quick chop, chops it into 4 pieces. And she takes one of the corners and she says, this should fulfill the requirements of the magical ingredient that you're missing.
Sounds good. I think that we're probably just about ready to go then. Granny, it's been a pleasure. I still didn't get that spot. I don't know what to do about that. I tried real hard, but it was just kind of stuck up there. Do you have a boil over or something? Something blew up?
She kind of waves her hand. She's like, no, there will be some other youngin who comes crashing into my garden and I'll need work for them to do. So just leave it for the next person.
I just go after, like, I look up and I go, you mean that spot? And I point at it. And I'm going to use wonderworking. And I roll 4 again. So I succeed. And the spot doesn't go away, but the spot changes to look either like a misshapen potato or my face, one of the two.
Well, the two look similar, so
they do. And so it's a little hard to tell. I was like, that's a special spot. Don't mess with it.
So you are making that spot like permanent and uncleanable?
Permanent, uncleanable, and with a vague sense of spiritual significance if you squint at it just right. You may always tell the story to your future apprentices of the time the one with no master graced your lovely inn.
I feel like Granny is going to have to find a master of her own to learn how to cope with this kind of abuse. This kind of psychological warfare. Awesome. So it's about 10:15 right now. I think there's a potential to do like, I thought about having us just out of character. I thought about we could do like a half-hour tangent where the cauldron like summons some under things, and we could interact with like, how does your philosophy of jumping off the bridge and interacting with the under things work when you're presented with the creatures themselves, and go through, navigate that, do some combat. Or we could start to wrap things up here and finish in about 10 minutes. So do we want to do a little bit more with under things, or do we want to start wrapping it up? What are we thinking?
I mean, I'm very interested in seeing how our philosophy interacts with under things, but I am open either way.
What do you think, Derek? Where are you at?
I'm happy to play around, push the system a little bit, give it a little show.
Okay. Elodie?
My attention span's not great, but I haven't hit a wall yet.
Okay. That's mostly
It's a sign of
the
a
check-in
real
is if
good
anybody's
game right
exhausted.
there. Yeah.
So okay. Yeah, let's have the cauldron. I want to explore this philosophy and see how it interacts when the under things are presented face to face. So do you want to have that happen here in the inn and have Granny be involved in that, or do we want to take it away to an isolated location and do it there?
By isolated location, do you mean a place where a ton of people will be exposed to the truth of what the stew may bring?
Potentially. This
'Cause-
could either
'cause-
turn into like a kaiju film where you save the city, or it could be like an existential crisis where you confront your darkest fears in the middle of nowhere. I could go either way.
I mean, my character, Dendrick, 100% would love to do this somewhere we can serve this soup to people.
Okay. Then
I don't get the sense that Granny wants me here, whether she wants us to summon horrible eldritch underbeans into her in or not. Less of a concern than please, Dendrick, leave this place.
okay. All right. Dendrick, what did you, or Plexi, what did you want to do?
I think we
In the
need to
city?
serve the masses. Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. All right. And Nanny, you good with that too?
Yeah, I want as many people as possible to see the wonders that come up from the what's it called again? The underbridge or something?
The underfog.
The underfog.
Or the
What a wondrous
overfog, possibly.
That's right. That's right. No in betweens for Dendrick. It's only extremes. Okay. Sweet. Let me pull up the under things. And
While David does that, let me just demonstrate something here on the stream. So this is the city as David would have you see it, right? Like in his machinations, this is how he presents the town. But let me show you something else that is possible potentially. And I don't want to blow anybody's mind here. But here is another option. Watch this. Bam, look at that. Y'all can't see what I'm doing, but the stream can. And I've just flipped the image of the of BridgeTown upside down. And that could be it also too, right? Like
that's true.
I call this the Vicinda projection map of Bridgetown. Very
There's
far
no
more
compass,
accurate,
so-
far less classist also too. I'm going to go ahead and point out. All right,
Yep.
David, back to
There's
you.
no compass on the bridge, so which way is up is relative. The enemy's gate is down. Never forget that.
All right, back
Let
to you,
me roll
David.
it. No, you're good. That's great. Okay, so let me pull up the cooking rules and we'll see what happens. So you combine all the ingredients. You're also going to have to add 5 provisions worth of food and water. Does one person want to donate all of those, or do you want to split up the cost between yourselves?
I will give 2 provisions to that.
I probably only have 1 or 2 to give because I gave out a bunch earlier. So I'll give 2, I guess, if I can.
Okay. And I think Manny's got a ton, right? You rolled 12.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give 3. Got
Yep.
6 left now.
All right. So we've added the provisions. We've added all the ingredients. We have Granny's fruit that you worked with your own hands. We have the fresh. What was that?
Berries?
Oh, it was the marinade. Yeah, or the.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, it was the marinade. It was the marinade. The marinara.
Marinara.
Thank you. I keep getting it mixed up. The marinara, and then we had the secret ingredient of thyme, and then the keystone counts as the other 2 magic ingredients. So we've got the recipe right. As you're cooking the stew, it cooks for about 2 or 3 hours, and then whoever is the head chef, whoever's leading this, needs to make a luck test. So who is leading this? I guess Nanny probably, right?
Step aside, chef's assistants. God dang it. 10. That's not a success.
Okay. So you reduce your luck by 1 every time, whether you succeed or not. All right. And so the head chef removes the stew too early. Granny is asleep. She went to bed, and y'all have been cooking the stew. If she had been here, you never would have made such a dangerous mistake. And instead, the stew begins to, like, the bottom of the stew sort of burns and curdles. The top begins to ferment, and everything mixes together and begins to emit this like thick purple, almost soup-like fog that
It's supposed to
pours out
do
of the
this.
cauldron. It covers the bottom of the tavern up to. Oh, 1 second, my dog is bothering me. Here. You can all see her as punishment. Here we go. And now I'm going to take her outside.
Be shamed. Be shamed.
I paid the dog tax, so there we go. Okay, so the fog spills out of the cauldron and covers the tavern up to your knees in like a thick fog, and it's really cold. It's like draining the warmth from your body, and it leaves this like really icy dew on your legs. Let me see the first underthing to arrive. So before an underthing crawls out of the cauldron, I want to pick your brains. So you've seen the underfog from above. You've looked down over the side of the bridge to the underfog, hundreds of miles below, and you've heard rumors about underthings and the evil that is below the bridge, but you never really believed it. Dindrick, how do you react to this fog? Is this like a fulfillment of your desires, or is it unsettling?
Dindrick's pretty detached from, practical desires. I also can't help but notice you keep on using below terminology, and we've already pretty much established that below and up are pretty much the same thing. And so like I think Dendrick, like, it's very obvious to anyone watching this scene that it should be like that Dendrick should be reacting at this point. Like, it has all the hallmarks of like this is a moment at which a man who has passively let reality wash over him should be driven to action, and that's the satisfying narrative plot point. And like he's just doesn't do it. Like he's just super
The camera
placid.
zooms in.
He's just
there's a
it's like
sting,
the
a
music like starts to like the tension rises, right? We see the frost from the coldness of the fog like creeping up the side of his leg. We see his fist gently like clench as if ready to take action, and then he just goes ooh, like cramp and just breaks the tension.
Okay. All right. I'm curious what it will take for Dendrick to react. Maybe when we meet another thing. So, Plaxi, what about you? How are you reacting to all of this? And I'll ask Nanny the same question in a bit too. So think about what Nanny's doing as well.
It's Plaxi is running around looking for bowls. Yeah, like it's a little cold. It's okay. Maybe it's a gazpacho, and we'll still serve it. So he's got like armloads of bowls he's carrying, and then like his worker, his what's that called, coveralls. Like there's a back pocket and there's a breast pocket, and there's like spoons hanging out of those, jingling as he's like running around trying to find a ladle.
And I just say probably not just a good spacho, but a great spacho.
All right. And what about Nanny?
Nanny is horrified. She yells out, "I've always wanted to meet the great under things, but not like this. They're going to see this stew I've made, which is the worst failure I've ever created. What do we do? They're going to think I don't know how to cook."
So Nanny's like embarrassed, like if a fangirl finally met her idol and had like an acne or something.
I like how the full range of human emotion is on display here.
That's right. Hunger, shame, and like mild discomfort, all evident here. All right. So the under things as described in the BridgeTown book are kind of like concepts that take physical form when they emerge from the soup of the underfog. And the name of this concept is noisome. And the form that it takes, the fog condenses into sort of like a dripping slug-like creature with a huge nose on the front, like a pig's nose on the front of it. And the rest of its body is kind of like a slug. It's almost too big to fit through the door that leads out of the tavern. But it darts out of the cauldron super fast and starts booking it for the door. And it's going to like smash open the door and escape. Behind it is this putrid, disgusting smell, the kind of smell that you will not get out of your nose for the rest of the week. And it smells like a combination of like rotting vegetables, sort of burnt hair, and that gut feeling when you know something's gone horribly wrong. Like right after you crash your car and you're looking at your wreck and you're like, oh crap. That's what this thing smells like. And it darts for the door. What do y'all want to do?
"No, please. I swear I can make it up to you. I can make you another stew."
Okay. Are we? So we're just gonna let it go out and see what happens.
I mean,
Think so.
go ahead. What do you got, Plaxi?
I don't know. I think Plex is okay with it just going. I don't know why, but he is.
Dendrick?
Yeah, I think I follow it out, right? And I think I'm running to catch it, and I want to hop on its back.
All right. Okay. So let's see. As this noisome under thing bursts through the door, Dendrick grabs onto its tail. It's like the outside is like pudding, and then it's kind of like wet concrete, and then there's like a little solid core in the center that he manages to grab onto. Nanny runs out, trying to get its attention to come back and let her try again. And Plaxi is just sort of confusedly watching it slurp out of the door. When this thing gets outside, it begins to absorb all of like the nasty, decaying, rotting, dirty smells of the city, and it starts to grow bigger and bigger. And it's like tearing down this like center alleyway, heading straight for the Gate of Libations, getting bigger and bigger as it goes. It leaves like that putrid sort of stench in its wake, and as it starts to grow long enough, just like with the barrel beforehand, this thing starts to like knock off mailboxes, tear off the occasional like store sign. But it hasn't done any real damage because the path to the gatehouse is kind of wide open. Dendrick, as you're holding on to it, as an aside, if we were playing Bones Deep, I'd let you absorb some memories from this thing.
Yeah,
But instead, you'll have to use your intuition.
it can absorb some memories from me instead.
You're holding on to the core, and this thing is getting more and more excited, and you kind of get the sense that it's being drawn towards like the sickly sweet sense of the strong alcoholic brews in the Gate of Libations.
Yeah,
And that's what it's heading towards.
sweet. I love it. I'm gonna start pulling myself up, like I'm gonna start climbing this amorphous mass as it grows, getting up on its back. And like I think anybody here, like you can. It's very clear that Dendrick is like talking, but you cannot make. I don't think anybody can make out with the whipping of the wind, like as they barrel forward, like exactly what is being said. It's kind of lost into the whipping of the wind as they get pulled down the street.
Okay. Plaxi, what are you doing? Are you still observing, or has your mind been driven to some kind of action?
Plexi is going to come out onto the street, and he is going to find the nearest manhole cover, remove it, and start making his way down into the sewers. This is too much for him. He thought life up here would be great, you know, sharing the wealth of everything and standing up here. He's going to go fight a couple rats. I think he just needs to get his mind back into something that appears normal. I think this has broken him a little bit.
Okay. All right. Nanny, what about you? Are you still trying to keep up with it?
No, Nanny's gonna dart back into the kitchen and just like start opening every cupboard, trying to find as many fetid snack foods as she can to make like a picnic to chase after it with.
Okay. You want to try and feed it or lure it somewhere? What's your goal?
I just want to ingratiate myself to it.
Okay. why don't you make a run check to keep up with this thing? Because you're definitely the fastest member of this little group.
That's got to be a success, surely. 5 out of out of 8. Yeah.
Perfect. Very nice. So yeah, using your incredible Gruffolk speed, and your hooves are like barely touching the ground as you're booking it. You catch up to the thing when it's about 5 minutes away from crashing into the gate, getting bigger and bigger. Dendrick, what do you want to do? You're riding this thing towards the gatehouse. What are you thinking?
So I think like we see like Dendrick finally kind of crest up to the back of this thing that has grown larger and larger as it's like been pulling through the city and absorbing all the kind of different fetid smells from the different things that we've passed. What was the name? What was this thing called again?
It's a noisome.
A noisome. And all of a sudden, like, people can all of a sudden make out that like now it's like not only that I am saying things, but I am yelling something on top of this thing. And it's still not 100% clear what it is that I am yelling, but it is seems manic and impassioned, whatever it happens to be.
Okay. All right. So as you get closer, this thing is approaching the gatehouse, leaving behind like a disgusting trail of slime and like a wave of stench. You see a smallish crowd, maybe 2 or 3 dozen well-to-do, dressed people who are conducting their inspection of the gatehouse. The aristocrats have come to collect their money and sort of investigate the gatehouse to make sure that it's producing and is extracting as much wealth from the populace as it can, and from travelers as well. And they all kind of slowly turn as this gigantic, horrible slug creature is barreling down on their main source of income. The soldiers like draw their weapons and then kind of just stand there staring at this huge thing barreling down on them. A couple of them flee, a couple of them like stay and man their posts. A couple of the aristocrats are scattered as well. Before this thing slams into the gatehouse, is there anything that anybody wants to do, or are we ready to see what happens?
I'm gonna test my luck to use my special ability. I don't think I need to especially use it in the way that it is. We're gonna. I mean, I think I'm gonna play on. I think this is a fun idea, GM. Not necessarily how exactly the rule works. As a cobble canter, I have an ability that I may test of my luck. Let's see, there the actual rules are. You may test your luck to enthrall a small crowd with a sermon for up to 1 hour. I can do nothing else while speaking. I mean, I am riding this thing. I get that, but I am essentially in its slime folds on the top of it. So I don't think I'm doing a lot actively at this point in time. I also don't need the full hour. But I would like to catch the attention of I think all of these wealthy folks gathered here. As as I start to rant about how they would not listen to the fact that what was above was also below, and now the fearsome noisome has come, and it has brought with it the truth that something this sticky, like up or down, it doesn't really matter. It can do what it wants to. It's also very fast. And and it goes. It is, in addition to being called the Noisome, is also often called the Escar. And let's see the Escar go. And then I have the Noisome bears down on the elite of the city.
Okay.
While they are enthralled and helpless to my words, and psychically
Yeah, for
damaged by my
sure.
horrible pun that I took time to try to figure out how to work escargot in. And it's upon them.
So this is like the cinematic equivalent of the hero like saying a one-liner. The bad guy always freezes while the hero finishes their one-liner. This is what's happening with you in the crowd.
100%.
Okay, sweet. The last thing you see before the impact is you see Captain Irving sort of take one last shot, and he like slams the glass down, and then he just kind of like closes his eyes and lets himself pass out right before this gigantic creature slams into the gate. Bricks go flying, beer bottles go launched everywhere. The giant distillery that was on top of the gatehouse gets knocked off into the bottom. The gatehouse is scattered. A bunch of the aristocracy are thrown off. A bunch of the soldiers are knocked away. And this thing just totally demolishes the gatehouse, leaving behind like this gross, disgusting sludge. And it continues to tear into past the gatehouse into like the wildlands beyond, and just keeps going in its direction, down that direction of the bridge. Whoever lives down that way is going to have to deal with this thing in like a couple days as it just books it. Dendrick, are you going to ride it all the way, or are you going to let go after it takes out the gatehouse?
Who knows exactly what happens to Dendrick? Like it's I mean, there's theories, there's legends. Truly the myth of Dendrick lives beyond him, as he always knew it would. However, we do see over the course of the next like few months the rise of this interesting new worship that preaches the sweetness of the stench and takes the leavings of the snail creature, like the ooze that it's left behind, and essentially like bungee jumps off of the side of the bridge using it to explore the liminal up and downness of the space above and below it.
All right. So Dendrick passes into legend.
For 3
months.
For 3 months. After that, I mean, the world moves on.
A loud herald of the stench to come, above and below. So, Derek, if you're open to it, I have an idea for what happens to Plexi, but I don't want to interrupt you if you have a good idea.
It was kind of meandering. I think, and you can fill in blanks if you want. I think Plexi has gone back below, and with this newfound stench being everywhere, it really has kind of brought all of society to kind of his level. And I think that he has found that some of those aristocratic members of society were flushed down into the sewers, and so he forces them to work with him, only to help better their understanding of what it feels like to be down below.
That's great. That's better than what I was thinking. I also like the idea that the person who led the workers before, corrupt as he was also a troll. And so it could be that you have some influence to guide some of these workers into a more unionized workforce as you clean up the city and sort of rebuild this town.
Like it.
Yeah. So Nanny, for your epilogue, I kind of get the sense that you and Granny would part on bad terms again because you unleashed a hell monster into the city. Do you think she would approve though? Because you made a change and you pursued a dream.
I think that Nanny has definitely found her direction in life. Finally, she's going to become a pastor of the sweetness of the stench, and like all of her sermons are going to come with like canapes of escargot, blue cheese, and durian, and that's all I can think of.
Also,
Okay.
I know that you were saying pastor, but the accent definitely had a very heavy pasta to it, and I really would love to just lean into that. That is what the name of the leaders of this church is called, are the pastas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
she takes the opportunity to turn it into a cooking themed church. It's not really
Okay.
relevant, but she loves cooking.
Yeah, I think Granny would recognize that you found a purpose and that you're pursuing it, which she always claimed was her main point, was like find your purpose, your passion, and pursue it, which you are definitely doing. And she's kind of struggling because your purpose is weird and hard for her to understand or sympathize with. So I like the idea that Granny and Nanny spend the next few years like awkwardly rebuilding a new kind of equal footing friendship, maybe. Like we don't talk about politics, but we can hang out and have a beer kind of a friendship, you know? Okay. And I imagine eventually the town is rebuilt, cleaned up, and this new religion flourishes and begins to spread across the bridge, followed closely on its heels by a passion for unionizing, which is interwoven with the tenets of the religion. And I think we
some of
have made an impact on the bridge. Good work, y'all.
Yay!
That was incredible.
We did it. It's time for our reaction roll. What's a reaction roll? It's a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down and talk with the creator of a game that we just played about what we thought about that game. Today, we just finished up playing BridgeTown, which is a liminal pastoral setting for Troika ttrpg. You could probably try it in another ttrpg, but only if you think it can hold the weirdness like a possibly relic cauldron holds the potential to summon underbeings or make really good stew, one of the two. If none of that made sense, you obviously have not been following along until this point. So let's have David, the creator of this setting, tell you a little bit more about who they are, what they do, but also, David, tell us a little bit about BridgeTown.
Yeah, so my name is David Schirduan. I'm the publisher of Technical Grimoire, and we are publishing BridgeTown, our newest Troika setting book. The Kickstarter is running right now. You can get a hardcover. You can get one of these beautiful maps. You could have gotten some dice and some bridge balm, some beard balm, not bridge balm.
I mean,
some
you can use it on a
balm.
bridge. It'll work.
But those tiers have already sold out. There will be both of those available after the Kickstarter. And the setting is a beautiful pastoral liminal combination that blends like folk fairy tales with goat people with sort of weird existential vibes all coming together in this strange setting, written by John Gregory and Furtive Goblin.
Awesome. Well, I had a blast playing, but let's hear from our other players, meet them, hear their thoughts. We have two new players joining us on stream this time, one of whom it's their first time ever streaming. Elodie, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play BridgeTown?
Hi. My name is Elodie Lloyd, aka Weird Blue Yonder on most of my socials. I'm most active on Twitter. I'm what am I? I'm an RPG writer, illustrator, gamer, all-round Renaissance gremlin. I loved this. I love I love the folklore vibes, and it's been ages since I played Troika, so I've forgotten how weird it can get. And I really loved the all the creative ideas stuffed onto this little London bridge.
Awesome. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask David about that? We can also pop back over to you in a second if you want to think about it.
How do you come up with such weird ideas?
I give partial credit to my experience playing Troika and leaning into the weird, because Troika is amazing for that. But most of the credit goes to John Gregory and Furtive Goblin, the writers of BridgeTown. This book is packed with weirdness. The cauldron, the strange ingredients, all the locations. There's even like a huge weather table, and one of the weather options is weird birds with different kinds of birds. So there's a lot of nonsense and goofiness to explore in BridgeTown. It's just a taste of what's inside.
Can you tell us a little bit more specifically about the cauldron mechanic and how it worked, right? Can you tell us? Because, I mean, we rolled through it, so we saw an example of kind of how that works. But essentially, we had a list of ingredients for a possible outcome. If we had rolled well, what would have happened?
Sure. So BridgeTown is very open-ended. There's lots of locations and things to do. We wanted to provide some kind of campaign framework to tie your adventures together. And the way we did that was by giving the players an overpowered magic item and turning them loose to find ingredients and create their own stews that have magical properties. The book includes like 30 or 40 recipes, a bunch of sample ingredients, and advice for how the cooking mechanic is integrated with the gameplay. Specifically in this case, it was just a way to sort of drive forward and give everybody an initial goal. But playtests have shown that after a couple sessions on BridgeTown, the players get involved in all kinds of nonsense and quickly find their own journey. The cauldron is just a good starter to get everybody moving.
Have you had people who have just like off the rip been like, we have 3 old ingredients, we're going to throw them in and see what it does?
I was ready for y'all to do that.
Awesome.
Tried.
Elodie, any more questions or any more thoughts? If you come, go ahead. You good? Derek, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Yeah, Derek Bizier. I am the Halfling Master of Halfling's Horde blog and other productions things. Had a blast playing. This was like super duper fun. It got way weirder than I would have thought this beautiful little pastoral liminal bridge setting could get. I absolutely loved it. I'm happy that there is that kind of campaign start piece. Something I've noticed in other Troika settings is it's missing that, right? It's missing that hook to get you into whatever the setting is. So it's really cool to have that. I loved the simplicity of it. I really wanted to throw those mushrooms in, but Nanny wouldn't let me.
Awesome. Any questions that you have for David?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head, but I know I can always find you in the Discord. So
yeah.
What would have happened if you just thrown the mushrooms in?
Well, it was funny because I have a bunch of pre-made recipes that have things that would have happened. All the recipes require at least 2 of the special ingredients, and you made it with only 1 ingredient. So with the 2, I think I have it up here, 2 old ingredients in a stew creates an aging stew. Anybody who eats it can age quickly, like 10 or 20 years. So you would have gotten that. Maybe you pour it on somebody you don't like or something.
What if we had put 3 old ingredients in there? What would we had an option then?
So 3 old ingredients would have created this like bubble of time around the cauldron, and everything else would have aged, and you would have like jumped into the future by 100 years.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So I had a blast playing it as always. I had no doubt that I would. It was also nice to get back on stream. My camera's been down for the last little bit, and this is a temporary camera. But when you were like, "Hey, can we play?" I was like, "Yes, we will make it. We will make it happen." Because you said it before, and I love playing with you. We during Troika Fest was the first time I played Troika a couple of years ago. It was the first time you and I played together. It wasn't. I'd played Troika like 3 times that week beforehand, but playing Ultraviolet Grasslands Troika with you was a blast. But I've really loved exploring your settings, the way that you support the system. The last time we had you on, it was for Bones Deep, which is also good. You can also get it on the Kickstarter as an add-on right now. I'm a huge fan of Bone Deep. That was a collaboration, if I'm remembering correctly. You and your wife were basically like skeletons under the ocean. Let's go, right? So that's how the team building for that worked. But you at Technical Grimoire, you do a lot of team building. You have some people you work with fairly regularly. We've played a couple of your other things on stream as well. When you're sitting down, you're looking at, okay, here's the game we want to build, right? How do you start? Like, is it usually like, Lawful or somebody will come to you and be like, here's my idea. Do you start out with like, hey, I want to do something? Kind of tell us a little bit about how this project and some of the other projects kind of start to evolve on a little bit more of a meta level.
Yeah, so Bones Deep was very much my wife and I wanted to make a little zine, 20, 30 pages. We'll get it out there. It'll be fine. And then we shared it with one of our friends who's a local boat captain. And he says, oh, I'd love to contribute to that. I love D&D. I have a passion for marine biology. I was like, yeah, give me a dungeon or a monster or something, and we'll slap it in there. He came back with 30 pages of content, like 2 weeks later, just confronted, like threw it on the table and was like, this is what I want to add. And immediately we went to a thick hardcover book. We brought in a bunch of experts, and the rest is kind of history. For BridgeTown, Johnny and Furtive Goblin came to me and they said, you did a great job with Bones Deep. Johnny and I have worked together on Low Country Crawl, and they had written this like cool, weird concept for a setting. And I was like, if you can make it work for Troika, I'll publish it because this sounds incredible. We worked with Charlie Fergraves of Feral Indie Studio. Yep. And he was so excited to do the artwork for it and gave us this beautiful watercolor cover. Johnny and Furtive Goblin did all the writing, and everything just kind of came together really quickly. I mean, I think this whole book was done over 3 or 4 months, and then we launched, and it's just been a wild ride from start to finish. It's been great.
Yeah, it's a great collaboration. Like, I really love it. Having done Low Country Crawl, which Johnny contributed to also too, and getting to have the fun of poking around in that setting, doing some of the different things in here. Like, I always feel like this crew also particularly creates really interesting like hooks for magic items, specifically like weird things that you're going to poke around with or be able to touch, interact with, eat probably. Are all things that come up regularly, I feel like, with this group of creators. It is fun to see it kind of implemented into Troika. Troika has a really sweet spot for me for a number of different reasons. But I also do love like a lot of times people like whenever we're playing a Troika setting or like pick any Troika background, and you have the generators already set up. We're like, here, you're going to play Bridgers, which is what I want. Like, I want to play in the setting with people from the setting, and I could not imagine a more enjoyable, like, I know I played them very passively, but like that was a very intentional choice. I want to be clear. I wasn't just like me being, there was one moment where like somebody messaged me on Discord about I'll even shout the game out, and I got very distracted by it. And that's when I was like, I was meditating. By Jillian K's Mutants in the Now. They sent me the itch page right in the middle of our stream, which looks very cool. I loved the whole vibe of the Cobble Canter and hey, maybe you're a charlatan, but maybe also sometimes, yeah, miracles happen. It's fine. Either way is good. I love that vibe. I love the trolls. I flipped through a couple of the other options. All of the bridgers are very good. There's 12 different backgrounds that come with the setting. Is that correct?
Yep. And the backgrounds are freely available on Technical Grimoire. Technical Grimoire also features a one-shot BridgeTown generator that generates you 3 locations, a bunch of NPCs and weather. It even makes a custom map. And if you wanted to try BridgeTown out, you can just go there and play it for free.
I don't believe you. No, I'm just kidding. I do believe you now, but now I'm going over and looking at it specifically because now I want to do the thing. Games download generators. Click on generators. You've got a Assassin Citadel generator on here also too.
Mm-hmm. I stay busy.
Very cool. All right, where am I going?
If you go to the Games in BridgeTown page.
Games and BridgeTown page.
Mm-hmm.
Games, BridgeTown. One-shot generator. The Wild Bridge, the Open Gate, and Gruffholm.
Yep.
This is cool. I love it. NPC, event, weather, birds. Flocks the size of clouds. No, this is good. Like I said, if somebody hasn't even looked at your site ever before, like just the Technical Grimoire site, absolutely should go. Would absolutely encourage people to go check it out as a resource. I love the way that you I talk a lot about please support your games, right? Like before and after release, the work you do to create ecosystems that make the work that you do and other people do very easy to play. I have always loved. And so I really want to encourage people if they haven't ever been over there. It's not like, hey, you're constantly releasing new adventures and stuff. You're creating just extra tools to make it a little bit easier to play. And I absolutely love it. So if folks haven't yet, they need to head over to ttrpg.link/BridgeTownKS. Go check out the Kickstarter. Things have been going pretty well so far for y'all. What more can we expect out of this campaign as it continues to grow?
So we don't do any stretch goals in our Kickstarter projects because we want to focus on the book and get it done. All the writing is complete, artwork is complete, layout will be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So back it, get a book, get a poster, and we will get it in your hands as soon as possible. We really want to fast forward this thing and get it out the door.
And then one last question before we go. This actually comes from one of the comments on the Kickstarter page. David Nivens really wants to know, this is the second Kickstarter RPG with skin/beard balm as a high tier reward recently. Is this the new meta? David and other people are wondering, why beard balms?
Is that a question for me or for you?
That's a question for you.
Oh, I have a luxurious beard, only made more luxurious by the beard balms that I purchase and enjoy from Plus One EXP. I've been using them for about a year. Specifically, the charisma and the strength balms are incredible. My wife says that they make me twice as handsome and they make me half as itchy. So I really love them.
Awesome. I'm very excited. I have the batch of Bridgertown balm up in the balm room. I'm going to take them to the office next week to print out the labels and slap them on top. So we will have some for pre-sale. So if you don't want to back at the highest tier, you can pick up a copy. And Derek, we do have your order issue sorted out. We'll get that shipped out to you next Monday also too, because Derek ordered some Rugos beard and ball balm, but we only sent the booklet by accident. So we've got all that sorted out. It's been really fun to it is a dumb thing, but it is my favorite dumb thing that we do to make beard balms, lip balms, and lotion bars inspired by people's games. So if you ever want to do a collab, people, feel free to reach out. Let us know. We'd be happy to. But go support the Kickstarter at ttrpg.link/BridgeTownKS. If you want to support us, there's tons of links down below. But if you subscribe here or follow us over on YouTube, you can find out the upcoming games we have. I want to encourage you. We're playing a 2-part session of Down We Go this Sunday and Monday with the same crew both days. It'll be about 2 hours of streaming each time, but it's Down We Go Raw. That's rules as written. A bunch of people were like, hey, Down We Go seems really simple, but I feel like I'm going to miss something. Can you run a game just straight up to showcase exactly how to play it. This is our house OSR system. So I'm going to be running the game with Marcus, the creator, Keegan, one of our regular streamers, and a couple special guests from our play community who are going to be hopping on, and we're going to be playing just a one shot but broken down into two parts so we can take the time to talk about what the GM does, why they do it when they do it, how the different little bits works. It's a one-page core system, but there's a lot of narrative elements that a lot of people have just asked how I and Marcus do it. So we're just going to play through a game a little bit slower than we do normally and talk a little bit about how we run the game specifically. So if you ever want to see a designer and developer deep dive into how exactly they run their own game, it's exactly what we're doing for Down We Go this weekend also. So I'm excited that we're back on stream, and it was great to have BridgeTown be the game we started back up with. If you're interested in indie RPGs, have a game that you want us to play on stream that you've created or that one of your favorite designers has, feel free to reach out to us through our website, +1exp.com, or reach out on social media. But until next time, we've never figured out a good way to end streams. So until next time, I can't even do it anymore. We've never figured out a good way to end streams, and at this point, we're not interested in trying. So until next time, we're all just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Bye, everybody. I got to also remember how to wave with the opposite hand and which hand to put on the mouse. It's all very confusing.